Okay guys, as you saw in the thumbnail and the title, to me this chart looks very bearish for Bitcoin. That being said, as you saw in the title, I think it's very possible we can see a blow off top, which is bullish. Now, this is not a Bitcoin chart, but Bitcoin will follow this chart. Now, I'm going to break it down and explain to you what this means. Again, I can see what it means, maybe you can, but I'll show you in just a minute. Guys, if you want to leave a like, I would appreciate it. It just takes a second to do so. It does help out the channel, and if you want to be notified of my future videos, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, so when I put up a video, you don't miss it, if you want to be updated with my content. Also, guys, if you see below, if you deposit $500 or more, I will give you a 2-week free trial access to Discord. You need to email me through the website with your CoinCatch user ID number. I'll verify you made a deposit of $500 or more, and then I'll give you access to our Discord. Remember, CoinCatch, BingX, and Bigot are 3 exchanges I use and trust. All those links, if you want to sign up, are pinned in the first comment description. If you want to learn how to trade on BitGet, remember all these exchanges are pretty much the same. Once you trade on one, you can trade on them all. This teaches you how to open a long, open a short, set of stop loss, adjust your stop loss, trigger orders, all that. Link this video now if you want to check it out. So before we cover this chart, I'm going to go over a few other things first. Let's go over the previous video I put up. I made it very clear. I said that this level, I said Bitcoin at key support. If this level does not hold, it's game over. And that was because not only were we at this blue ring, but we're also at this key macro trend line. This is the last macro trend line of support we had that needed to hold, otherwise it'd be very bearish. Also, so it's very possible, this, if we kind of move sideways and went down, we could come down to 55,960. Now, we got a crazy wick all the way down to the support level, but ultimately we did hold and push back up. I'll put a link to this video now if you want to check it out. These are just published charts of this same chart. This has the fib channels in it. Someone hit play. This is published on June 24th. You can see how this played out. Notice we caught a bounce, we pushed up, got rejected, and you can see we came down, right? We got this crazy wick, but notice the meat of the candle is above the support level. So your point to go long is when we push back above the support level, or once we came back down and tested this macro trend line. So again, we're going to cover this blue fib circle. Now, this is the first time we've crossed one of these blue rings and rode down it. But again, I said as long as we hold above our macro support level, it is very possible we could push up. And you can see we're pushing up now. Now we are above a key level now that is bullish in my opinion. If the next daily candle opens above this point, that is bullish. And then we have this yellow macro trend line we'll cover as well. This is a simplified version of that chart. This is just without the fib channels, just so you can see the yellow, orange, and red macro trend lines and this fib circle. If I hit play, you can see what happened. We pretty much just kept bouncing and bouncing until we finally held support. The next daily candle hasn't shown yet, so that's why we're holding under this point. We are above it currently, but I just want to show you how this chart played out. Now, this right here, now this is just to explain, my process of cycles, and this goes back to that first chart I showed you. This video I put up, this was 2 years ago. It got 109,000 views. It said Bitcoin 80% crash will start in the next 15 days. All I was doing was using a fib circle, this blue fib circle, comparing it to a previous cycle. The price action looks similar to me. So I was able to create a fib circle to show potentially when we would get that drop. Notice we got a head and shoulders at these last 3 rings. Head and shoulders at the last 3 rings. So it made sense that when we cross this ring, we would get a major drop. I'll link this video now if you want to check it out. I suggest you do. Some of the comments are hilarious. People thought I was insane, out of my mind, making this chart. It played out, and just seeing some of the comments are just hilarious in response to it. So do check that video out. But this is how it played out. This is the same chart. You can see here. You can see if I zoom out, right here, you got yellow fib circle, got your blue fib circle. We are right here at the last ring. And this is how it played out. This is published on November 14, 2021. If I hit play, you can see we dropped, we came all the way down to, what, about 15,400. So that did call the drop. So I was able to predict the cycle using fib circles. This was the next big call I made. This was 1 year ago, got 19,000 views. I said Bitcoin could pump to 22K from here. I explain why. And this is that blue fib circle. And this kind of ghosted here. You see we crossed this blue ring, we pushed up, we crossed this blue ring, we pushed up. As soon as we crossed this blue ring, this is what I was saying in this video. I'll link a video now if you want to check it out. I said once we cross this blue ring, it's very likely we'll push up because every previous ring we crossed, we did push up. And you can see this is the exact same chart. Let me zoom out so you can see this. So you can see you got this line here, got the ring here, got the arrow. Published chart, published on December 26, 2022. If I hit play, you can see as soon as we cross that ring, we push straight up, right? We crossed this next ring, made a video about that. We pushed up. This is the first time we hit one of these rings and actually rode down the ring. But as I said, we could ride down the ring, but as long as we hold above critical support, we could go higher. And we will cover, so in just a minute, we're going to cover your key support resistance levels. I'm going to show you the next likely point too short, and that point, if we get above, where we'll probably go parabolic. But now we need to go back to this chart. Now guys, this is the Dow Jones, and remember, I know some people say Bitcoin probably follows the NASDAQ and the S&P better than the Dow, but we do know that the indices typically move together. So if you can chart one, and you know when one potentially is going to go up or drop, you pretty much know when the rest are going to go up and drop as well. So to me, this chart shows me that it's possible we are topped out. Now I know this, again, this chart looks insane. I had a certain way that I created this chart, but to me it's just two cycles. There's a cycle here, right? You see this there's two flip circles here. You see there's a white ring here with the blue ring in the center, white ring here, blue ring in the center, and you can see the same thing right here. Get a white ring with two blue rings in the center. So this looks like two cycles to me, but what I want to point out, notice this is back here in, this is 1998. Notice we hit this ring and we got a major drop, right? We hit this ring, we got rejected, went sideways, right? Once we crossed this ring, this orange ring right here, we pushed up and it was way, way out. Notice we hit this point, we got rejected, we got a little blow off top, we pushed up, came back down, tested the support, pushed up. Once we broke it, we had a major drop at this ring. So as you can see, every time we hit one of these rings, now we got rejected here, we got rejected here. Now we did get a little push up, so I'm saying that's why it could get a blow off top. We could potentially be topped out here. We could drop from here. Maybe we could get one more push up. I'll show you why it's likely we could get one more push up. But if you'll notice, just so you can see how I'm comparing the cycles, notice right here when we crossed this ring, this is when we had our COVID crash. We came all the way down to this point, pushed back up. Notice just like here, right? Just like we hit this point, went sideways, we got rejected every time we hit this ring. We went sideways. Notice where these two rings intersect, we got a bounce. Where these two rings intersect, we got a bounce. And notice we're right back up at this orange ring. So to me, now while it took a lot longer, like you see that where this red ring is and this orange ring is, well, that's when we dropped. For that to play out, that would be over here. That means we would not see a crash for another, that would be like almost 1,000 days. I just don't see that as possible. I think because we've already pushed up and tested this orange ring, I think either we're going to top out soon, we might push up a little higher. Notice I have this red line. This is just resistance because that's where we're topped out. Using this chart, actually, I put a red line above this point. So it's possible we could push up. You know, maybe we could push up to 41,200. Maybe push up to 42,500. It's possible we get one more push up. But I do think what played out here, we get one push up. You know, we'll probably hold support, and then once we come back down and break this ring, we'll have a major drop. So again, we might push up something like this, hold support. But I think at some point we're going to break this and come back down. And if you'll notice, when we dropped, all right, notice these two red lines right here. When we dropped, we came all the way back down to this area, and that was about a 53% drop. So if we do drop, let's say we get one little push up and we drop, well, if we come down to that first line, that's about a 34% drop, and that bottom line is going to be about a 42% drop. If that happens, last time when the markets drop and the indices drop, Bitcoin got hit a lot harder. The markets dropped. Let's see, this is on, let me put this on actual candles. If you'll notice, when the COVID crash happened, we dropped, or at least the Dow dropped 37%. Well, Bitcoin dropped, I think it was like 65%, something like that. So I'm just saying a 30% drop with the stock market would be catastrophic for Bitcoin. But to me, it looks like the markets are almost topped out. We could get a blow off top, but I think we are about to at that point where we could see a major rejection. And that's all this is just showing a previous cycle that's possibly playing out. So we could possibly push up, get one blow off top, but I think because we tested this ring a third time, just like this ring, 1, 2, 3, I think that's playing out the same way. So I think pretty soon we could either drop from this point, push up, get rejected, and then come down. And this is a published version. I published this back on March 8, 2023. And this is what I was showing. If this would be the next point we would drop based on that previous cycle. But again, that's so far out. And now that we're already at this ring and above it, I think the crash will happen much sooner. But that's not to say we can't get one more push up before coming down. And that kind of makes sense. If you look at this Dow chart here, if you'll notice, what happens is we'll find support. There's support, 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 right? It'll flip as resistance, resistance, then we get a drop, create a new support or a new a level of support. That flips as resistance, 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 and then we drop. Same thing, notice this was support, support, it became resistance. And if you'll take note, right here at, this was this is 2019, our peak right here, Bitcoin peaked right at 14K. So Bitcoin actually peaked while the market continued to push up. When COVID happened was in 2020 in February, but notice that support, right, flipped as resistance, then we had that drop, created a new support level, right? Support, support, flipped as resistance, resistance. So we could get one more push up. And that looks to be, around 41,200, maybe 41,700, depends on how long it takes. But just based on looking at this chart, just looking at these cycles, going along with this chart, it looks like we could get, again, we could be topped out now, or we could get one more push up before actually this whole thing's comes crashing down, at least down to this point. Maybe down to 26,500, possibly 24,300. I want to show you one other chart. So I actually charted the CPI. People thought I was crazy for doing this, but I have to say it's been pretty accurate. So when I published this, it was August 6, 2022. I'm going to hit play, see how this played out. So right when I published it, notice this blue line right here. We got rejected and came down. And I actually updated this chart since. But notice right here, we're getting very close. Now this fib channel line, this will be respected. And it just so happens, if we come straight down, this is what, 2.38%, 2.38%. Over here is what, 2.82%. So I think it's very possible, we could move sideways or come down and get a bounce from this point. Now, what would cause potentially the markets to push up, right? Well, a reinflation. If inflation starts, if you start getting inflation, what would cause inflation? Maybe that's when the Fed decides to lower interest rates. So if we continue down to 2%, 2.5%, that's getting close to the point the Fed wants to get to. So that they might decide to lower interest rates. And when they do that, yes, markets will get a pump, Bitcoin will get a pump, but inflation will get a pump as well. As soon as they start putting more money into the system, QE, that's going to cause inflation. So it's very possible. And this is the actual chart right here. So again, see how we're bouncing down this line? If I zoom in, let me show you something here. Sorry about that sound in the background, guys. That's my water cooler bubbling. But notice right here. So we topped out right at 9.15, right? And notice right here. Actually, let me zoom in on this one and show you this right here. Notice when we dropped, right? So we came down. Notice that little line that went sideways right here. Notice it went sideways right at this point. Notice it went sideways right at this point. And now we're moving sideways here. So again, I did update this chart. I just want to show you how accurate this has been. We came right down to this point and got a bounce at pretty much 3, right? So if we come down, that would be like 2.82. And over here would be, what, 2.7? So all I'm saying is, it's very possible that pretty soon, now if we measure this to this point, now if we come straight down, that could happen at any time. If we just measure to this point here, that's 245 days. It's quite a while. But if we continue down and the Fed decides, and if we get down to, let's say, 2.74, potentially 2.5%, Fed says, okay, that's low enough. Keep in mind, guys, commercial real estate, there's a lot of debt with commercial real estate. A lot of these regional banks are going to get affected by this. So the Fed might have no choice but to lower interest rates. And that's what can happen. We could come down, we could test this, and then inflation just kicks back up because the Fed lowered interest rates. That would play right along with getting one more pump, one more blow off top for the Dow, NASDAQ, S&P before coming back down and having a major drop. And that would play right along with, if I can find a chart here, right along with this chart here, which I've shown you guys. Let me go to this one here. And this is what I was talking about. As long as we hold, every time we cross one of these blue rings, we always get a bounce. This is the first time. Again, I told you every time we bounce, we'd probably bounce down the ring. As long as we stay above the ring, stay bullish, as long as we're above key support. This was that last key support. So we just bounced down this ring, right? Just bounced down it. We went below, but we pushed back above. So that means we could get one more blow off top. And yes, these are the levels to pay attention to. Now we are above, I said the same thing in Discord. As long as we are above this point here, I am now bullish because this is a very key level. Go back and watch previous videos. I covered these three lines, show you why these are important. So if we come back down, your point too long is 61,573. If that breaks, your next support level is 57,427. Now I marked off down below where I think the lowest point will go. I'll cover that in the next video. And also the highest point I think will go if we get above your next level to pay attention to. This would be a point to scalp a short. From this point on, I would only be scalping shorts. I would hold my long. I told everyone in Discord, as long as we're above this point, I am bullish. But if you want to scalp a short, 65,200 around the area looks like a great point to do so. But again, I'd be holding my long from below because since we held our key support here on this red macro trend line, now because we're above this orange trend line, to me that is very bullish. If we get above 65K that holds a support, then that is very, very bullish, and that means we're heading up to test this trend line up here, which would be our blow off top. So I want to make sure I covered that. Again, this is just the D1 chart with the fib channels, just so you can see. Again, that is that level right here. Right up here around 65,200. Now we do have other levels above, guys. And now if you scalp trade, that's what this D1 chart's for. You can scalp a short 67,863, depending when you make contact, and then you long 65K. But your next major point to watch is 65,140. Take note, right here is the top Bollinger Band on the daily. But it looks like there's a lot of confluence from 65,200 around the area. This would be a great point to scalp a short. If that holds as support, again, I would be holding your long because it looks like we could get a lot of upside. But that being said, pay attention if we drop because your next support level is right here around 61,500. If we get back below that, then we need to restart thinking this because now your support level is back down here around 57,300. But to me, I am bullish, as long as we stay above this point. And once we get above 65,200, I become super bullish. And again, I expect us to come up and test some much higher targets. This is the H1 chart just to give you a little confluence. If you'll notice right here, this line, this green line, notice it was resistance, resistance, hold above it a bit, resistance again. And that level right there that's around 65,000. So again, that is your target to watch. Once we hold above that, I would get super bullish. But again, like I said, just based on this chart, believe it or not, it's published. We'll see how it plays out. But to me, I think we could get, I'm not saying we have to get a blow off top. We could be topped out now, but based on this previous chart, we did touch this orange ring, we pushed above it, and then we came back down, broke below it, and had a drop. So I think the same thing could play out here. But just going by the CPI, going by this chart, and because we crossed that blue ring, I think it's very possible we could see a lot more upside. But again, if we start breaking below 61,500, your next support level to pay attention to is 57,135. If that becomes resistance, then we will start bouncing down this ring, down this blue ring, and have a lot more downside. Again, guys, if you want to get a leverage trading through exchanges I use and trust are CoinCatch, BingX, and BitGet, all those links to sign up are pinned in the first comment description. If you want to get access to these live charts in Discord, if you want to sign up, links pinned in the first comment description. And remember, guys, if you want to get a 2-week free trial, make sure you, if you deposit $500 into CoinCatch and email me with your user ID number, I'll give you that 2-week free trial. Guys, that's it. Trade safe, trade smart. I'm out.